If we haven't met before, I'm Sarah, an end-of-life planning advocate, normalizing conversations about end-of-life and estate planning before those conversations are necessary. If you've spent any time with me, you already know that I go on and on and on about creating a When I Die binder to document your information and accounts to help your people manage your estate and your stuff after you die. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, hi, welcome. I talk a lot about how important it is to start a When I Die binder to document all of your stuff to help your people after you die. The next 20 minutes or so is a prime illustration of why I think it is so important to document all of your stuff. They are the questions that make my heart hurt on every level. My mom died and I don't know where she banked. Where do I start? My brother died and I have to help cancel his subscriptions, but I have no idea what he had. Where do I even start? My dad died and I know he had investment accounts, but I'm not sure where they are. Where do I even start? Where do you even start? After a death, there is so much that needs to be managed and wrapped up. Even if your people did document everything, it's tedious at what is already a difficult time. But if nothing was documented, several more layers of tedium and challenge have been added into the mix. It is a major downside of our paperless lives. The tasks of locating people's stuff after they die is getting harder. Back in the day, we got paper statements and paper bills for everything. After you died, someone could go through your life and largely piece it all together based on your mail. And if something was missed and a bill wasn't paid, this service would be turned off after a few months. But today, for many of us, most, if not all of our statements are paperless. Many of our services are now set to auto-renew, and those services will go on and you or your estate will keep paying for them unless or until somebody knows to cancel them. Paperless and auto-renewing accounts are super convenient for us in life, but it will make it so much harder for others to know what you have. So, where do I find the subscriptions of somebody who's died? That is the million-dollar question. That might literally be the question depending on the size of the estate. It's too late to ask questions. It's too late to encourage your person to document the information. Your person has died and you are tasked with figuring it out. Where do you even start? On my channel, I try very hard to set proper expectations. So I'll just say this up front. This will be hard. This will be tedious. There is no single way to do this or a simple checklist to go through. I can't tell you to do this and then do that. I am truly sorry for that. If there was an easy way or a simple shortcut, I would tell you. Your person's stuff was unique to them. There are as many places to look and things to consider as there are people in the world. I can give places to start and things to consider, but I can't tell you what to do. Each case is unique. You'll need some authority. For the purposes of this video, I am assuming you are a person who is in some way, shape, or form authorized to act on behalf of the person who's died. The people and companies you will be talking to, or at least that you're trying to talk to, may need you to prove that. They may ask to see your probate or estate documents reflecting your authority to act on behalf of the estate. Privacy concerns are very real, and due to a combination of concerns about the possibility of fraud, identity theft, phishing, and privacy laws, companies have made it very hard for people who aren't the account holder to get information about accounts. This is a great thing while you're alive, but it makes it extra hard for people like you who legitimately need to deal with companies on behalf of an estate after death. Personally, I've seen both sides of this. I used to work at a bank in the department that dealt with these types of issues. I can tell you that a legitimate call that starts, "My aunt died and I need information about her account," and an identity theft attempt that begins, "My aunt died and I need information about her account," sound very much alike. In fact, they sound identical. Companies may require proof you are authorized to act on behalf of the estate before they'll talk to you, even if it's only to tell you your person wasn't a client of theirs. Assuming you can get an in real life person to talk to, you might be talking to many people at many companies. Here's a dirty little secret about the corporate world. Many employees have no idea what they're talking about. You might talk to a few people at the same institution and be told very different things. You shouldn't necessarily assume any kind of malice when incompetence or poor training are equally likely. At the bank I used to work for, I know for a fact our bankers frequently gave out information that was flat out wrong when it comes to what is required and next steps involved when dealing with the bank accounts of people who died. I knew them. I liked them. I know they meant well and they were trying to help, but they were bankers. They knew basically everything that they needed to know about the stuff they saw every day, but they had very little training about what needed to happen after a client dies. You'll be talking to a lot of different people and they might be telling you a lot of different things. Do not assume you will remember everything or that the answers you'll get will be consistent. You need to document and keep track of your conversations. Who you talk to, when you talk to them, what they told you, what they asked for, what they requested of you, and what items they were going to follow up on, and when you can expect answers about their follow-ups. It is on you to follow up on everything. It shouldn't be, but it is. Okay, all that background information was great and all, but answer the question already. How do I find the accounts of a person who died? A main focus here is locating bank accounts, but you'll need to find all of their accounts and services, at least the accounts that contained money or assets, or accounts, subscriptions, and services that were being paid for by the person who died that will now have to be managed. As I already said, there is no single place to start or consistent way to go about this. Start with what you have and what you can get access to and build out from there. You may need to put on your detective hat. One statement might lead you to a different account, which might lead you somewhere else. What to do with any of these accounts or subscriptions once you find them, or how to access them in the case of online accounts, will vary based on the circumstances, but that's beyond the scope here. The focus here is all on step one, finding the stuff. Paper account statements. While paper statements might be less common, they are definitely still around. Check for bank statements, mortgage or loan statements, or investment account statements. Statements will be beneficial in two ways. First, the account statement itself gives you direct information about that account and often contains customer service contact numbers. The statement, especially bank statements, might give you an indication of what other accounts or what other services the person subscribed to and is paying for. Those statements might give you clues of where else to look for accounts. Credit card statements. Like bank statements, credit card statements will be beneficial in two ways. The card itself is something that will have to be dealt with. And again, the credit card statements might give you an indication of what other services the person subscribed to and is paying for, services that you will now have to deal with. Keep an eye on the mail. Their mail might contain physical utility and service bills or subscription renewal forms. Those pieces of mail might give you an indication of other accounts. By the way, the incoming mail itself is also something that will have to be dealt with and managed, but that's a story for another video. Files and documents. Dig through filing cabinets and wherever else they kept their documents. They might not be getting paper statements anymore, but maybe they did once. See if you can find old statements or correspondence or other information about their stuff that might indicate the location of accounts or services. Credit reports. Credit reports can provide information on accounts, loans, credit cards, and lines of credits that your person had. Another side note that we'll add to your to-do list, all three credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, should be contacted and a note added to the report that the person has died to prevent identity theft. But again, details on that is a subject for a different video. Notebooks, notes, and swag. This is where you might have to start playing detective. If you still can't find any details out about their accounts, look around their house. Do they have notebooks by the phone or the computer where they might have jotted down notes or details about conversations about their accounts or services? Do they have lots of fridge magnets or swag from a local bank? That might be an indication that they are a client there. These are imperfect methods, perhaps, but sometimes imperfect is all you have to go on. Digital stuff. So now you've looked through your person's paper stuff. What about their digital stuff? Doing a digital hunt for information often raises a whole new list of questions. What if I can't get into their email? How do I access their computer or their phone? I can't help with all of these issues. Honestly, a lot of the tech issues are beyond me, but even if they weren't, every device and every account has its own rules and processes, and the tech is always changing anyway. Again, start with what you have and work out from there. If you can't access one device or account, start somewhere else, and hopefully you'll be able to get information elsewhere that will be able to help you. Email. Email is a critical part of our lives and is often where bank statements, bills, renewal notices, and other account information is sent. Or at least that's where we get notifications that those things are available to view on an app or on a website. Emails can be a goldmine of information about the accounts and services that your person had. Phone or text? What apps do they have on their phone? Who do they get texts from? They might have gotten texts from companies to confirm transactions or deliveries or as two-factor authentication prompts that might indicate companies that they did business with and accounts that they had. Computers, tablets, and smart TVs. What shortcuts or bookmarks do they have on their computer? What apps do they have on their computer, tablet, or smart TV? Again, those might be indications of the accounts and services that they have. Still can't find anything? Looked through all of the above and still no joy? This is when you might need to start making phone calls. Contact the major banks in the area or banks with branches in the neighborhood where your person lived. You might want to leave this as a last resort because, one, it is painfully tedious, and because of identity theft concerns, it is very hard to get information from banks when you're cold calling them, even if that information is only that your person wasn't their client. Visiting a local office in person with copies of the death certificate and the paperwork indicating you're authorized to act on behalf of the estate might be slightly better, but it's still tough. One last suggestion, keep an eye on their state's unclaimed property office. When a company has money or other assets for a person and that person can't be reached, those funds are eventually sent to the state's unclaimed property office, where it will be held until it's claimed. Each state has its own office that is in charge of the unclaimed property for that state, and each office has its own process about how to search their records and how to claim property. Nearly all assets end up in the Unclaimed Property Office eventually, so review the Unclaimed Property site for every state where your person ever lived to see if there are assets there in their name, and follow the required process to claim those assets. And keep an eye on those unclaimed property websites going forward. Even if the accounts aren't there now, they might be in a few years. But fair warning, this can take a long time. First, the account has to go dormant, and then the company has to make repeated attempts to contact the person before the money is ever sent to the state. This process can take several years. I know this post is about wrapping up someone else's affairs, but I'm also still me, and I will never pass up an opportunity to encourage you to consider your own estate plan. You've maybe now experienced how challenging, how difficult, and how mind-numbingly tedious it is to wrap up the affairs of someone who died without documenting anything. Make sure this won't happen to your people by starting your own When I Die binder, documenting your accounts and subscriptions, including usernames and passwords, canceling accounts you don't need or don't use. If some of your stuff is in the Google ecosystem, set up a Google Legacy Contact, which is also called a Google Inactive Account Manager, so your nominated person will be able to access your Google account and manage your accounts after you die. Don't make your people go through this same experience after you die. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and also consider hitting the subscribe button for regular end-of-life and estate planning information.